we have somebody for us this Not a big one.
Good morning, honourable members.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker.
On the chaplain to lead us in prayer.
God be merciful unto us and bless us, and show us the light of his countenance, and be merciful unto us.
That thy way be known upon earth, thy saving health among all nations.
Let the people praise thee, O God. Yea, let all the people praise thee.
Let all the nations rejoice and be glad, for I shall judge folk righteously, and govern the nations upon earth.
Let the people praise thee, O God. Let all the people praise thee.
Then shall the earth bring forth her increase, and God, even our own God, shall give us his blessing.
God shall bless us, and all the ends of the world shall fear him. The Lord be with you.
And with thy spirit.
Let us pray. Lord, have mercy upon us.
Christ, have mercy upon us.
Lord, have mercy upon us. Our Father, who
who
art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come,
thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Go before us, O Lord, in all we do, with your most gracious favour, and further us with your continual help, that in all our works begun, continued, and ended in you, we may glorify your holy name, and by your mercy receive everlasting life, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Benacht ye ul uniatel, yn a mac a spirit new, drawd y mastiw as the Hannington Meru, es on the brech. Amen.
Chaplain, I can advise the House that leave has been given to Mr Cannon, who is found on government business. We then turn to our starred questions, and question 1 is in the hands of the Honourable Member for Oncombe, Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'd like to ask the Minister for Health and Social Care what the duties are of Manx Care's Chief Nurse, and if she will make a statement.
Will the Minister for Health and Social Care to reply?
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for her question. Just for clarity, I am going to give the answer on the Executive Director of Nursing and Allied Health Professions. That's her title as opposed to Chief Nurse, so just to make that clear for Honourable Members. As per Manx Care's job description for the Executive Director of Nursing and Allied Health Professionals, which I've circulated to Honourable Members this morning and has been in the public domain, the duties and responsibilities include advising and providing professional leadership to the Board of Directors, Chief Executive and Operational Management teams on professional nursing midwifery, allied health professionals and healthcare scientist issues. Working collaboratively with the Chief Executive and Executive Director colleagues, taking collective responsibility for the delivery of all key targets and standards for Manx Care, participating in the executive on-call arrangements for the organisation, working as part of a cohesive executive team and taking lead responsibility for strategic and corporate issues outside their specialist sphere of responsibility, and fostering a team working approach to care delivery, working in partnership with other executives and senior management colleagues to ensure good communication systems exist for all staff and provide visible and effective leadership across Manx Care and foster an open door style of leadership and management. In addition to this, Mr Speaker, some key aspects of the role include professional lead for nursing, midwifery, allied health professionals and biomedical scientists, patient experience including complaints management, corporate nursing, nurse and allied health professional education and training, infection prevention and control, and joint executive lead for clinical governance, which includes supporting the corporate governance team to deliver robust corporate and clinical governance for Manx Care. The Executive Director of Nursing and Allied Health Professionals also acts as a lead for health and safety across the organisation. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Supplementary question, Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I wonder if the Minister could confirm, does this particular role have voting rights on the Manx Care Board? And also, does this role currently have a deputy position of deputy, obviously, of nursing and allied health professionals?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I don't have that information with me on the voting rights, I'm afraid, and also on the position that she's talking about, the interim position. I'm sorry, it was the question was about the role and responsibilities. Thank you.
Okay. Dr Allinson.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. I thank the Honourable Minister for her description of this role. One of the highlights of this year's mandate was the establishment of matrons back at Nobles Hospital to act as a quite identifiable leader of the nursing clinical team. Will this role be coordinating the matrons over at Nobles? Thank you.
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And thank the Honourable Member for his question. So he is correct. A key development in this area is the introduction of both the matron and the senior matron roles across the Manx Care integrated system and services as detailed within the Manx Care operating plan, of which these will be 8 positions, Mr Speaker. These will be critical positions and are created to deliver improved communication with patients, the public and colleagues, with laser focus on patient, family, carer safety and care effectiveness and patient experience. The roles, Mr Speaker, I'm pleased to say have been established within the existing financial budgets, just in case anybody also wants to ask that question, and there's been no additional funding required to deliver these critical clinical leadership roles. All 8 clinical roles have direct reporting lines within operational teams and have a clinical professional accountability to the Executive Director of Nursing and Allied Health Professionals as a registrant of the Nursing and Midwifery Council. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Mr Thomas.
Thank you very much. Would the Minister confirm that this Executive Director has responsibility that goes beyond Nobles, just to make sure the reporting of this answer is accurate? So in other words, the Executive Director is responsible for allied health professionals and nurses, even if they don't work in Nobles. And secondly, does the Minister agree with me that the new matron network can provide a useful support to people like MCALs and thus onto the public to help them better understand what's going on in healthcare and the improvements and the enhancements we're all working on together?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I would have to confirm whether that goes outside of Nobles. I wouldn't want to say something that would be inaccurate, but obviously if the Honourable Member does have experience of that, I'm sure he knows. But yes, absolutely, I would concur with him about the useful support to MCALs and the public with regards to the roles for the... gosh, I'm having a senior moment. For the matrons. I would say that the launch of the matrons is going to be in the next coming weeks, so it's going to be very exciting to see that and to see how they do start to interact with the public in such a wonderful way. I know that's something that we're all used to from the past, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that develops within Manx Care going forward. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I think we've already had 3 matrons in post at Nobles Hospital. This is going to 8, so is it an increase of 5 or is it 8 new posts? And the people that have been acting as matrons perhaps are going to be promoted up or down, I'm not sure which. But is this a significant increase in management roles within Nobles Hospital? And just to concur with my honourable colleague from Douglas Central, the previous post holder of this role managed all nurses and allied health professionals, I believe, throughout the island, and I believe it was up to 1,000 employees. Can the Minister confirm whether this post holder is still holding that same responsibility and accountability?
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. So she has one, the hold of the position has one direct line report, head of care and quality and safety, but I believe obviously the oversight as she's describing it would be within her remit, as I described in my first answer. Sorry, could she just repeat her first question? Thank you.
Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It's just, I believe there was possibly 3 matrons already employed within the hospital setting. We've talked about 8 today. Is it 5 extra or is it 8 extra?
Thank you. There'll be 8 in total. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Mr Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Does the creation of the matrons create a new layer of management? And will an existing layer of management be removed, or are we going to have this extended structure? And how many layers will there be between the patient and the matrons? Thank you very much, Mr Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you. I don't have the job specs with me for all the matrons, Mr Speaker, but I can certainly, as I said, when that's rolled out in the next coming weeks, that information can be open to honourable members, and I certainly will make sure that answer is there for the honourable member. Thank you.
Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Is the Minister indicating that there's a new structure being implemented at Manx Care? Because that's certainly what it sounds like. Certainly there's concern if there's a new structure being implemented that could impact patients and patient care. At the outset, you said that this role can take complaints from the public or supports in that complaint process. But it's quite concerning if there is a whole new structure being implemented and developed and we've not had eye of the costs. Could the Minister circulate any new structures and the costs?
Minister to reply.
Thank you. The recent restructure within Manx Care enables the system and services to be more clinically led. So the benefit to patients and the public is that doctors, nurses and allied health professionals lead the care needed now and in the future, and it will be supported by management and administrative teams. I certainly can ask for the restructure to be circulated to honourable members. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Mr Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Just revisiting my other question, just in simple terms, will this represent one additional layer to the management structure at North Nobles? Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I can confirm that to the honourable member.
Turn to question 2, calling the honourable member for Douglas Central, Mr Thomas.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I would like to ask the Minister for Infrastructure whether the bus service review was completed and if she will publish its terms of reference and findings.
Calling the Minister for Infrastructure to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the honourable member for the question. A new bus funding strategy is a long way into development. A public consultation has taken place on some of the key issues, and the strategy is now being written following a recent policy meeting. I plan to brief Tynwald members on the strategy in July and will be publishing relevant supportive information in due course.
Mr Thomas.
Thank you very much. Just want to make sure that I understand them, because the bus service review was due for completion in January 2025, but it seems that that date's been missed. It seems that the transport strategy was a claimed achievement of Council of Ministers, as reported in the Island Plan reporting, because that was submitted to Council of Ministers in October 2024. So are we saying that the transport strategy that was submitted to Council of Ministers in October 2024 as an achievement of the Island Plan didn't cover buses? Is that what we're saying?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. No, the transport strategy did include buses. I'm a little confused. There may have been a draft circulated last year, but the transport strategy has only just been finalised and is due to be submitted. And then, obviously, buses come as part of that strategy.
Mr Glover.
Remind Lord, can I ask the Minister who was actually involved in the bus services review?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I don't know, but I'll find out and I can circulate that information to you because it was before my time.
Mr Thomas.
No, thank you. Sorry, so the Minister will have to take it up with Council of Ministers then, because Council of Ministers claimed that the transport strategy had been submitted to them as an achievement of the Island Plan in October 2024. So it either included buses and it was bad, or it didn't include buses at all, with given the answer today. A couple of years ago now, there were trials over a number of months, over TT, for instance, including over TT, of electric vehicles. Since then, I think 10 or 11 hybrid vehicles have been bought for the fleet, replacing older vehicles. Was that following the incomplete bus strategy review, bus service review, or was that just a decision that was going to take place in any case? I mean, what were the findings of the electric vehicle review?
Minister?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The transport strategy covers a whole range of transport options and includes public transport. The bus review and the bus strategy that sit underneath that are allied documents, but the two are not exclusive to each other and they obviously overlap in some respects. With regards to hybrid vehicles, I have no idea what the status is of the power of the fleet. I haven't asked about hybrid vehicles. It is one of the things that is being discussed under the bus strategy.
Mr Thomas.
Sorry, so bus purchases were suspended in 2020 when Treasury was was strongly involved. Buses, the purchase decision changed again in 24, but the bus strategy review doesn't exist as yet. The minister claimed, two ministers claimed, in fact, that the testing of electric vehicles and other against their alternatives on real routes with real people inside them was part of the bus strategy review, which apparently hasn't been prepared as yet. Can the minister explain this apparently suboptimal policy development and huge expenditure?
Minister's reply.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As far as I know, we have had electric buses and hybrid buses on trial only. We have taken delivery and it's been well publicised that we've had new buses recently and there are more new buses to come. So I'm not sure what suspension of spending on buses the member is referring to, but we are still investing in our bus fleet.
No?
Two.
Okay. Turn to question 3. Call on the Honourable Member for Arbroath Family, Mr Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'd like to ask the Minister for Education, Sport and Culture what actions have been taken regarding funding and building a primary school on the development. Thank you.
Call on the Minister for Education, Sport and Culture to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. With regard to any future plans within Ballasalla relating to the development of Crossing Farm, the Department is aware of the proposals contained within the area plan for the South regarding the potential for a new school. Should any plans progress around the development of this site, the Department remains ready and able to be involved in any discussions. However, at this stage, no decisions or commitments have been made which will see the development of a new school. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Mr Morehouse.
Mr Speaker, and thank you, Minister. In terms of the development, could the Minister give us the date when she was actually informed of this, please? And also, with regard to the plans of the possible school, does she actually recognise there is a need to actually push things forward, not only in terms of the existing number of students within the school, but also the forecast numbers? There's a real issue in terms of Ballasalla Primary School at the moment. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As I said, the Department is aware of the proposals that were contained within the area plan for the South regarding the potential for a new school. And I think the Honourable Member's talking about the numbers within Ballasalla School at the minute. Was that what you were interested in? They have increased significantly. From 2020, they were 101 pupils, and in September 2024, that had increased to 167. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Mr Thomas.
Thank you very much. Can the Minister confirm that she's aware that the proposals are a bit more substantial than just proposals, in as much as the land has been acquired, including a bungalow with a funny coloured roof to provide access from the road? Can she also confirm that the land has been prepared for a school? And it's not only a proposal, the land is reserved for a school. Can the Education Minister confirm all of those things?
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As I said, the area in Crossing Farm has been identified as the location within the area plan for the South, and should any plans progress around the development of the site, the Department is ready and able to take part and engage in those discussions. But as yet, there's a lot of work to progress before we get to that point, and consideration needs to be given, in fact, whether Crossing Farm would be the correct location before any development or commitments are made. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Mr Glover.
To remind Lord, and following on from the last question, the land is in fact reserved, which is a different scenario altogether. And would the Minister agree that the numbers currently within Ballasalla put acute pressure on the current primary school, and indeed that is only going to increase?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That would likely increase, I agree with the Honourable Member, should any development plans be progressed for the Crossing Farm site. The current capacity in Ballasalla is being managed by way of a double mobile classroom, which I'm pleased to say planning approval was given for that a week ago, and we hope to have that in place for the autumn term. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since 2018, Crossing Farm has been down for the development of a primary school in the south of the island. Does the Minister is she not aware of this? Has she not researched this? But also, can she confirm whether it was on any disposal list and that land may no longer be available?
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I said, the department is aware of the proposals within the area plan for the south. I'm not aware of any disposals or the other matters the Honourable Member raises.
Mr Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister keeps referring to the scenario plan and that historical document, and that being a core point, but my concern really comes from what we heard in last month's Team World in Another Place, where the DOI Minister raised the possibility of a large development plus a new primary school. Hasn't that consideration arrived at the department? Only last week, one of the planning committee members questioned the planning application and asked about the planning that was actually going on within government. Given
as the member has stopped, I wasn't going to cut him off, but I will just say I don't expect the Minister to answer any questions about planning policy. That's something that's coming forward in standing orders changes. So, but the remainder of the question...
Mr. Speaker, can I intervene? The application's still obviously live, hasn't gone through its full
I think
process.
I've made the point that I don't expect the Minister to respond to anything on a planning application.
Given that situation that we're now at close to crisis point, having to put additional places in temporary accommodation at the last minute, is the Minister concerned that we're actually going to do the same thing over and over again? That we've got plans for a new school that aren't being progressed at all? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We do not have plans for a new school. We have, I agree, pressure on Ballasalla School, and that is being managed, in particular, hopefully by the provision of a double mobile, for which we received planning approval on Tuesday the 29th of April, and we hope to have that in position by the autumn term. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wonder if the Minister could confirm then the report that's long overdue on the strategic utilisation of our school sites and the future strategy going forward for all of our school sites. When will that be published? And can she give a date, please, because it's gone on for so long now?
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The condition and utilisation surveys are still being gathered, and a strategic review of all schools will take place following receipt of those. I can't say at this point in time when that will be. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thomas.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, where does the Crossag Farm school, or at least proposal for a school, rank in the proposals for new primary schools? Because obviously Crossag Farm has been under discussion as a school since about 2010, and then was incorporated in the Southern Area Plan as a proposal. So presumably it's top, which is bad news for those waiting for just as long in Douglas and elsewhere. Otherwise we wouldn't be having this discussion.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd say again, consideration needs to be given as to the correct location before any commitments are given, and as in terms of the strategic view of the school system, that is very much a live consideration, but we will be considering that once we receive the utilisation and condition surveys. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given there is a pressing need for something to be done, and innovative things have been tried previously with planning in terms of things like the bypass in Ballasalla, is there the possibility that the department can talk to DOI and other departments to actually consider something innovative in terms of could a private developer build the school at this location as part of the future development? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I say again, should any plans progress around the development of Crossing Farm, the Department remains ready and able to be involved in any discussions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Turn to question 4. Call on the Honourable Member for Ramsey, Mr. Hooper.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask the Minister for the Treasury why all distributions from companies are not subject to income tax.
On the Treasury Minister to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the Honourable Member for his question. Whilst most distributions by a company are taxable as income in the hands of the Isle of Man resident shareholder, there are a limited number of situations where a distribution is not taxable. The primary reasons for this is that taxing the distribution would result in the taxation of a capital gain and/or result in economic double taxation. It's been the Isle of Man Government's policy not to tax capital gains for many years, and this was restated in the Tax Strategy 2024-26. Equally, there are sound policy reasons for generally avoiding taxing the same income twice, often referred to as double taxation. In a company context, this can arise where profits that have already been taxed here in the Isle of Man or in another country are distributed to shareholders. Double taxation can deter both domestic and foreign investment. When income is taxed multiple times, investors may seek more tax-efficient opportunities elsewhere. I should add that the Isle of Man tax system also captures situations where a distribution by a company may not be income under basic principles, but is nevertheless a distribution out of income and should therefore be subject to income tax. For a small open economy like the Isle of Man that needs to remain competitive, not taxing capital gains and addressing double taxation are vitally important policy choices that have been consistently adopted here for many years. Thank you.
Question, Mr. Hooper.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I wonder if the Treasury Minister actually listens to himself speak sometimes, because a lot of that didn't make a lot of sense. And the question I've got for the Treasury Minister is, does he think it is fair that we treat companies differently to the way we treat people? And what I mean by that is, he's just explained that if a company makes a capital gain and then pays that money out to a shareholder, there is no tax paid on that distribution to a shareholder. However, if I, as an individual, make a capital gain and then use it to pay my rent, my landlord pays tax on that income that he's received from me. Is there a reason why the Treasury decides it wants to treat two different types of income differently? Why is it that company shareholders get special treatment for the distribution of capital gains, but people don't?
Minister to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for his question. I don't think, actually, that the treatment of capital gains are different between companies and individuals. The taxation system is a complex area. For Honourable Members' benefit, there is a publication that's available on the government website, the Taxation Distributions from Corporate Taxpayers, Guidance Notes GN 49, which was published in June last year, which details the 4 boxes that are used to distribute various amounts of money within various companies, and then how those are then brought forward. The assessor has informed me that she estimates that 85 to 90% of distributions are taxable due to distributions generally having to be made from taxable revenues before distributions can be made from non-taxable reserves in order to access more favourable tax treatment. But obviously the treatment of capital gains and also double taxation are a very important aspect of government policy and are reviewed on a regular basis. Thank you.
Mr. Thomas.
Thank you very much. Would 85% a high proportion, would the Minister agree to discuss further with the assessor and publish details of that 15% and provide an estimate of the tax that's been foregone since the creation of the 0-10 tax regime? Because 85% is quite precise, which implies that an estimate of the 15% can be given.
Minister to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. What I actually said was that the assessor estimates that 85 to 90% of distributions are taxable. I'd also draw members' attention to the changes we made in February last year in terms of refining the way that corporate taxation is treated. This was the first change since 2012 and very much detailed the Box 2 reserves and how those could be cleared with a transition period that lasted up until April this year. So we are looking at reforming the corporation tax, the way distributions are managed. This was very much seen as the first step because, as I said, the reserve treatment is very complex to track, and therefore these changes have to be done in an orderly and managed way to assist the large majority of small and medium firm companies that make up the bedrock of our local economy. Thank you.
Mr Hooper.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The Treasury Minister is providing some statistics there that I think aren't the whole picture. I wonder if he'd be able to circulate the amount of reserves retained in companies that has not been paid out as a result of the government's current policy. 85% of all distributions sounds like a lot of money until you realise it is only a small portion of what these companies will be holding in their reserves. Can I ask the Treasury Minister, though, how he reconciles the fact that he and his assessor are allowing income distributions to be paid out of companies not subject to income tax, when the Income Tax Act itself defines an income distribution as the undistributed profits of the corporate taxpayer from an earlier accounting period and makes no reference or distinction between capital profits and income profits?
Minister to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I thank the Honourable Member for his further questions. As I said, the changes made last year dealt specifically with some of those reserves that have been kept back previous to 2006, and therefore there was a transition period to move those into taxable entities. In terms of his definition, I draw his attention to the Income Tax Act 1970 and Section 2PA, which actually diagnoses and defines the meaning for distribution, and that's very much taken on board by the income tax assessor when we're dealing with the company profits and the way that those are distributed through the current system. Thank you.
Mr Thomas.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. So as part of researching for this question background, I was looking again at the 2017 headline about the impact of the 0-10 regime on taxes obtained from local people. Secondly, I reread the papers that were produced that got that headline from the former tax assessor, Mr Sully. Does the Minister agree with me it would be better for him and Treasury to seize the information analysis in this respect? Now this question has been raised by Mr Hooper, rather than letting third parties come in and analyse what's happened since 2012 and the 0-10 regime. So will the Minister agree to circulate information about the impact of the 0-10 regime, given some of the quite accurate percentages, estimates that he's given today?
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. And again, I thank the Honourable Member for the points he's made. What the question is asking about is distributions from companies, not the overall 0-10 strategy in terms of overall corporation tax. This is distributions for companies and those that are not subject to income tax. And the Honourable Member for Ramsey, Mr Hooper, has very much looked at the way that these are defined so that those that are to do with income, whether that's in terms of money or other entities, can be taxed effectively. And that's certainly what the Income Tax Department are doing and will continue to do, and continue to refine the current system we have of distributions from these companies. Thank you.
Mr Hooper.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. It's interesting that the Treasury's own position on these issues is internally inconsistent as well. The reforms the Treasury Ministry keeps referring to actually were all about getting rid of an entire class of retained income that carried with it a tax credit. So people that didn't take advantage of that exemption now have lost that tax credit, which means they will be suffering, in effect, economic double taxation, which is something the Treasury Minister has stated he wishes to avoid. So I'm at a loss to understand why the Treasury policy here is so inconsistent. The law quite clearly defines a distribution as anything that comes from undistributed profits. It makes no distinction between income and capital, and yet the Treasury have taken it upon themselves to ignore that part of the law because it is inconvenient for them. Can the Treasury Minister please go away and provide us with a detailed explanation of how the current activities of the Treasury and the Assessor of Income Tax actually comply with the Income Tax Act that he himself just quoted from?
Minister to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I thank the honourable member for the points he's raised. I would disagree with him that in any way Treasury are not abiding by the current legislation and and I've just quoted from the Income Tax Act 1970, and actually what we've been doing consistently over the last decade is trying to make sure that the tax system on the island, whether that's be for small and medium-sized companies or for individuals, is as clear, simple and fair as possible, and we'll continue to do that. Thank you.
Turn to question 5, calling the Honourable Member for Arby Castle Mr Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask the Treasury Minister what procedures the Steam Packet Company has in place for delaying sailings or providing an extended period for accessing a boat when there has been an accident on the approach to the port. Thank you.
Treasury Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the honourable member for his question. In the event of the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company being informed of an accident or road closure which could affect passengers arriving in time for their sailing, the company will assess a number of factors in deciding to delay a sailing, including, but not limited to, the following: the number of passengers who are not already checked in, the schedule for the vessel and what flexibility there is to delay the sailing, and any knock-on effects to later sailings, any clashes with other sailings, including other port users, that might occur as the result of delaying a sailing, and the capacity on other sailings to be able to divert passengers to them. Once all aspects are considered, the management team, vessel master and port manager will agree if a vessel can be delayed, and if so, by how long. Thank you.
Mr Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Minister, for such a detailed answer. It's really reassuring that there are lots of things that are considered. From my perspective, one of the key aspects of the question is providing an extended period for accessing the boat. In terms of the captain, there are 3 crucial times. There's a departure time, and there's a final check-in time for vehicles, which is 45 minutes prior to the departure time. Once that's passed, the doors can close. And 25 minutes for foot passengers. Once that time has passed, if the boat is secure and ready for departure, it can actually happen. What I'm really wanting to focus on here is the sea conditions are good, and in terms of the list read out previously by the Minister, if those have been considered and it's a bank holiday, is there any consideration of the actual cost and the challenge of accessing another port? Because in terms of it being a minor issue, it's something that could affect all of us. So just in terms of a bank holiday, is there any extra consideration? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the honourable member for getting to the knob of this question, which is very much around passengers who may be delayed getting to the port. And that could be for a number of reasons. He's highlighted traffic congestion, but obviously if somebody breaks down or something else happens on their transit to the port, what we would always say is if somebody is running late and feels that they may miss their crossing, to contact the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company, the Douglas Call Centre, who can then advise them on whether there's been any change to the expected time of departure or the check-in time, and also look at any other mitigations that may be made, including transferring them to another sailing, obviously if they're severely detained. Thank you.
Ms Edge.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sorry, my voice coming out. The Minister in his original answer said that they do take a number of considerations into account before sailing. One of the ones was number of passengers not checked in. Can the Minister advise what the threshold is on that? Because I think that's really important. But also, a number of patient transfers do travel on our ferries, and what would be the consequences if they arrived and the boat had left?
Minister to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the honourable member for her question. I don't think there is a threshold as such. It's trying to get a rough estimation of how many people might be inconvenienced by traffic congestion or whatever else is going on that's inhibiting them from getting to the port on time. In terms of patient transfer, she's quite right. Some people do take the ferry rather than fly, and obviously, if they're in that position or they're vulnerable for whatever other reason, and they're delayed, then I really would recommend that they contact the Douglas Call Centre to get some advice, to get some reassurance from there in terms of whether that crossing is being delayed in any way or whether there's an alternative for them, however that would be provided. Thank you.
Mr Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Minister has identified a really positive route when things go wrong to actually call the call centre in Douglas. The problem is, though, that they don't have good links with the other ports when something goes wrong, especially on a bank holiday. Is this something that the steam packet could actually review going forward? Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. I thank the honourable member for his point. What I have learned from the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company is if they are going to change the expected time of departure, they will update their website and they will send text and emails to all those people that they have the details for that are due on that crossing to try to inform them as much as possible. But obviously they will work also with the ports, whether that be across in the island of Ireland or Haiti or Liverpool, to make sure that information gets out to all those people. But again, if people are stuck in heavy traffic or suffer an accident or are unable to get to the ferry, what I would recommend is that they call the steam packet company, who, you know, in my own experience have been incredibly helpful in terms of rerouting various passengers to make sure that they can get home safely. Thank you.
Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Partly answered in the last question, but there is difficulty getting through to the Douglas Call Centre. Is it not possible to publish the Heysham contact and the Liverpool contact, because it is very difficult to get through at busy times, particularly if there has been an incident?
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. I'll certainly look to see how we can publish those and make them more available.
Mr Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Is there any data on how many times the boat has been delayed in the last 6 months or in the period because of incidents on the motorway or similar issues? Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Minister's reply.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. The punctuality figures are published quite regularly by the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company. There are delays for a whole range of reasons. I don't think they necessarily itemise those in terms of the delayed departure. Those are relatively rare, but often they are done on an individual basis regarding the delays in terms of people getting to the ferry on time. Thank you.
To question 6, calling the Honourable Member for Arby Castamley, Mr Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'd like to ask the Minister for Infrastructure what discussions with local authorities and the visit agency there have been about financial support for a bus service to Creignish. Thank you.
On the Minister for Infrastructure to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the honourable member for the question. To my knowledge, no formal discussions have taken place with the local authorities regarding financial support for a bus service to Creignish. There have been ongoing discussions with the Department for Enterprise, Visit Isle of Man and the Department of Infrastructure to identify and to discuss financial support around a bus service to Creignish. However, to date, no agreement has been achieved.
Mr Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and thank you, Minister. The Clerk and the Commissioner from Arbury and Russian Commissioners have both recently stated that there is support available. Given that situation, has the Minister been able to help move that forward in terms of encouraging bus vanning to sit down and actually talk with these individuals about the possibility of some form of assistance and the route being put back on again? Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Those comments that have been made through the media have not formulated themselves as formal communications to the department. So at the moment we don't actually have any direct offer from them. However, I've asked the department, as the honourable member will know, to look at options on this. I think once we know what the options are and we know what the costs are associated, that would be the time to have discussions with other parties.
Ms Edge.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr Speaker. I know it was some time back when this decision was reached, and I'm sure the Minister said it was a decision taken on cost purely because of the usage. Is there any consideration taken to the number of properties in an area? Because why would you still be going to Niarbel Cafe when it's closed?
I'm conscious about expanding this, but with regards to considerations, Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It's probably true of the bus service across the whole island that we can't serve every town and every house, although we try to do our best. So although there is some consideration about how many properties are on a route, that wasn't the driving factor in this one. With regards to the bus going to Niarbyl, it is the end of the route that runs through Dalby, so it does serve a number of properties on the way.
Mr Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It's really a point of clarity. In an interview with Manx Radio, I think it was last week, the Minister said that the Office of Support had not arrived on the desks of those who make the decisions. But today she said that no support had actually arrived. So in terms of the situation, where are we in terms of the Commissioners and moving this forward? Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'd like to inform the Honourable Member both those things are true. There are no offers that have been received by the Department in writing that we have been able to track down. There may have been conversations and they are not recorded.
Mr Thomas.
Thank you very much. The Minister's also made comment in the media that it's her intention to reinstate the route either with this money or without this money. Would that be in the context perhaps of Connect Villages, or perhaps it would be in the context of some sort of hub and spokes method, you know, where you've got a minibus from Port St Mary via Cregneash over to Port Erin to get on a big bus in Port Erin to go to Douglas quickly?
Minister to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. Officers in bus vanning are looking at what the possible model might be for that service.
Mr Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. With regard to possible options, the Minister has been quite positive in a reserved way. In terms of a timetable for the additional bus, or the bus to return, how would that work? Because we've just had a new bus timetable which is going to take us to, I think it's September time. So if something could be done, could an addition be made to the existing timetable? Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Minister to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. As I've said, officers are currently looking at what the options are. This will involve examining staff availability and bus availability in order to deliver anything. And while they're working up those options, I'm not sure how long it will be till we could implement any solution.
Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Just picking up on the Connect Villages and that original policy with regards to that. I know the Minister's said that she's looking at options and obviously they'll consider that, but how many minibuses will the Department of Infrastructure have left once the rest have transferred to Manx Care?
Minister to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. I don't know that answer because those negotiations about the transfer of non-emergency patient transfer services are still underway.
Mr Thomas.
Thank you very much. One way to approach this use of other people's money to run the service to Cregneash and perhaps onto the Sound would be to remind ourselves why Port St Mary Station is so big and why it has public toilets and the like that are currently closed up. Would the Minister go away and consider just running a minibus from Port St Mary Station up to Cregneash and the Sound, as has been suggested by staff over a great number of years?
Minister to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for the suggestion. I would love it to be just a Port St Mary service. However, we do know that there is considerable demand from Port Erin too.
Into question 7, call the Honourable Member for Douglas Central, Mr Thomas.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'd like to ask the Minister for Infrastructure how the revised Tynwald members' parking policy is applied.
Again, call the Minister for Infrastructure to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for the question. A new parking policy was reviewed and approved by COMIN on the 6th of March 2025, and the Department is working through the administrative process and implementation. It's my expectation that Tynwald members will be paying for their parking, if they opt to do so, next month at commercial rates.
Mr Thomas.
Thank you very much. I think the original announcement was 1st of May, but you know, can the Minister confirm then that she expects the policy to be a paid parking arrangement from the 1st of June? Secondly, when the policy originally came in, the Tynwald Management Committee was strongly involved, and when the Minister was asked about it in 2022-23, the Minister at the time said that the Department was going to draft a parking order. I know it was done. For Tynwald members in the government offices car park, which would then need to be considered within the Tynwald management process. Does the department, and beyond them council ministers, intend to involve the Tynwald Management Committee or another part of the Tynwald management process in this decision?
Minister to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. The department is in communications with Tynwald office.
Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Whilst I don't disagree with parking charges for Tynwald members, I do feel that I want to see the policy and has it been revised, because there's a large number of employees on similar grades throughout government that perhaps should be looking at having charges as well, so that we're supporting the people that are on the lower grades more so, and people that are above a certain grade. I'm not sure which grade we're affiliated to now, but should everybody be paying parking fees?
Minister to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, it's very difficult to equate people's grades and jobs to whether they should be paying for parking, because depending on where they're located to work, there is often freely available parking around, and so it would be unfair to impose something based on the job grade.
Mr Thomas.
Thank you very much. Although I don't think I filled one in ever, my understanding is that when MHKs, MLCs join this place, they fill in a standard government car parking application form, and this policy was under the policy guidelines for staff car parking charges, the general government policy. Can the Minister confirm that it's not difficult to charge members for parking, because it's not a public parking order? It doesn't need statutory notice and 2-week statutory consultation. It's just a statement agreed in the Tynwald Management Committee or somewhere else that from this date the charges will come into force. Can the Minister confirm that this is not a public parking order, it's purely and simply an internal arrangement?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The honourable member is correct. It's purely an internal arrangement.
Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Would the Minister mind circulating the most up-to-date policy in relation to this and how it's applied throughout government?
Minister to reply.
Thank you very much. Yes, I can arrange for that to be circulated in due course.
Turn to question 8. Call on the Honourable Member for Douglas Central, Mr Thomas.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. I'd like to ask the Minister for Infrastructure how much net divisional spend in A, corporate support and compliance, and B, public estates and housing will change between 24-25 and 25-26, and why would there be that change?
Then call on the Minister for Infrastructure to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker, and I thank the honourable member for the question. Whilst year-end work is ongoing, the provisional net divisional revenue spend for corporate support and compliance and public estates and housing for the 24-25 financial year was 1.3 million and 30 million respectively. The final details of the 25-26 budget are still to be completed. However, it's expected that the budget for public estates and housing will be reduced by around 7.5 million as housing deficiency cost moves to the recently created Housing Deficiency Fund, though this does not mark a change in overall funding. There may be some other smaller transfers as part of the finalisation of the department's budget. However, these have not been agreed at this time. Finally, the respective net spend in 25-26 will differ from 24-25 due to matters such as inflation and cost pressures, which will need to be balanced against additional income earned in line with the income targets within the Pink Book.
Mr Thomas.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate the Minister confirming that the 7.5 million that has been in Department of Infrastructure housing for local authorities is now becoming the 8.5 million that's in Treasury for local authorities. So we're not talking about nirvana, unless in terms of expenditure on public houses, unless the Minister wants to change her mind on that respect as a question, does she? Secondly, the net spend in the corporate compliance and corporate support seems to have increased by 4.3 million in the Pink Book. Full reference, page 59, Department of Infrastructure Financial Summary. Can the Minister explain why that has increased by such a large amount? I was thinking it might be keeping some of the deficiency payment for local authority housing, but apparently it's not.
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm afraid I don't have that reason with me today, but I can undertake to find out and circulate it to the members.
Mr Thomas.
Thank you very much. I mean, it's disappointing that you haven't got the information to answer the question that I've asked, because I asked about net divisional spend in a specific division, and it's on page 59, so you could have at least read out the Pink Book. Apologies for that, Mr Speaker. Can the Minister advise whether the increase, or how is there an increase in corporate support and compliance, given that agency and contracted is down by around 5.5 million in the Pink Book, and transport costs are down by nearly 4 million in the Pink Book? It's all just not stacking up. Is there a huge slush fund in Department of Infrastructure?
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm not aware I have a huge slush fund.
Ms Edge?
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Minister said in her original answer that public estates and housing had decreased by 7.5 million for deficiency. Deficiency was removed out of the Department's budget, I think, in 2019-20. When I was member for public estates and housing, it went to Treasury the following year. So can the Minister confirm why we're now saying this is happening again? What's happened in amongst all that, because it definitely did shift to Treasury.
Minister?
Thank you very much. Mr Speaker, I'm unaware of the historical position, but it's shifting this year.
So to question 9, calling the Honourable Member for Ramsey, Mr Hooper.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. I would like to ask the Minister without portfolio what concerns he has regarding the age demographic of the public sector workforce and what plans are in place to ensure effective succession and continuity across public services.
Or the Minister without portfolio to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for his question and the time we've had discussing this in the previous place, in another place. The average age of the Public Service Commission employee as at the 31st of March 2025 was 46, with the average age across the wider public service being very similar at 45. The average age of new starters is 37. Obviously, we welcome people of all ages to work in our public services. Nonetheless, there is work to be done to attract a younger age demographic to ensure sustained delivery. Departments are actively seeking to increase the productivity of our current workforce through the deployment of AI tools such as Microsoft Copilot and through accelerated programme of process digitisation that is being undertaken through the Efficiencies Programme. These changes will help to reduce the overall need to recruit staff in the future, but we are very much alive to the importance of rebalancing the age profile across the workforce too. Mr Speaker, I can advise that the new profile strategy is currently in development, which recognises the age profile of our workforce as a major challenge and sets out key actions. These actions include a new recruitment strategy which includes a dedicated work stream to address the ageing workforce across the public service and responding better to the differing needs of a multi-generational workforce, thereby enhancing the capacity for effective succession planning. Consultation has already taken place with the Chief Officer Group and the Public Service Commission. The Office of Human Resources will play an integral role in the development and introduction of the new people strategy across the public service with the Public Services Commission's oversight. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Mr Hooper.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. And firstly, let me thank the Minister for answering this question. It was aimed at the Chief Minister originally, and the Minister stepped in, so thank you very much for that. In his original answer, the Minister talked about the average age across the civil service. I think the problem with using averages is they can mask the underlying issue. Is he aware that in the latest PSC report, the average age of craftsmen, for example, is 65 across the Alaman government? The average age in Skill Zone 5 is 51. These are higher averages by some margin than the average across the civil service. And would the Minister also accept that it is unlikely that AI is going to replace the skills of these frontline workers? You need something fixing, you need something fixing. Can the Minister outline then what steps are being taken to make sure that we have proper recruitment of apprentices and trainees at the moment now, whilst there are people in post who are still able to train them?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And again, I thank the Honourable Member for those figures that he gave to me the other day when we were having a conversation. As of the 31st of March 2025, there are currently 10 full-time equivalent apprentices. There are 9 vacancies also, so we're running 50% short, if you like, of vacancies going forward, which is not good. The recruitment control framework applies to all employed roles across departments and offices, including the apprentices, so obviously that will be looked at going forward. But I do see the apprentices as absolutely essential, as should the larger local authorities and other companies as well that do so. And I do thank those private companies that do make sure that they take on apprentices for the future going forward. Several approaches are being taken to attract younger talent at both the departmental level and through the Office of Human Resources. The Department of Infrastructure is currently discussing different pathways for new joiners, broadening the definition of apprenticeships to include fields beyond traditional trades. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Thomas.
Thank you very much. Does the Minister agree with me that the age profile, particularly in the manual and crafts area is actually an incredible opportunity for young people, and that should be what we hear out there. The fact that there are now these opportunities inside the public service is a message that we should be broadcasting loud and clear. You know, join the public service now. There are shoes to step into, whereas there haven't been for many years. And secondly, I mean, similar to that, brownfield sites are an opportunity to fill them up with something better to make your lives and your careers even better over the coming years. The Isle of Man's a great place these days for young people.
Minister, to respond.
Thank you. I would totally accept and agree with the comments that the honourable member who's just resumed his seat has just made. And again, I go back to private companies that do take on apprentices. We thank them very much indeed, and we need to ensure and do what we can to make sure they continue to do that, and we need to do our bit as well through government, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Hooper.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the Minister again for confirming that we have 10 current apprentices with 9 vacancies. The PSC report, as of the end of last year, says that we had 4,140 FTE across the public service, and we have 10 apprentices. Does the Minister think that that's a pretty stark reminder of the issue that we're facing here, that we don't have enough trainees coming through the system to replace staff as they retire at the end of their careers? And the Minister also mentioned in his answer the recruitment control framework. There is no exception in there for trainees or apprentices. In fact, those words don't appear in the recruitment control framework. Can the Minister commit to going back and reviewing that recruitment control framework to make sure that it properly addresses the issues around apprentices and trainees? Because otherwise we could end up in a situation where the government can't recruit people because it's put in too many restrictions, too many blocks and too much red tape.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To take the second point first with regards to the recruitment framework, I'm more than happy to go back and look at that and review that and discuss that with the honourable member going forward. Obviously, he's in the department DOI where we do the apprentices, and I'm happy to work on him with that going forward. And regarding the actual numbers, I did find it really stark when I was given the answer the other day as 10 across government. Obviously, we're talking joiners, plumbers, electricians, which are in the DOI, and that's just that department only where we have the apprentices. I did find it stark. Even if we had those other 9 as well, still 19 is still a very low figure. But actually, if it's all in the one department, it is quite a lot for the department to take on. And don't forget, they have to have somebody with them all the time, looking after them and all sorts of things. But again, I'm more than happy to work with the honourable member, Mr. Speaker, going forward.
Supplementary question, Ms. Edge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm just trying to search whilst the Minister's been speaking there to see how many apprentice jobs are being advertised, and actually it looks like there's 0. So if there's 9 vacancies, why are they not being advertised? But what I want to ask the Minister is, we've had a number of apprentices come through the government system over the years, particularly in the skills shortage areas that the questioner has stated. However, once they reach the end of their apprenticeship, they are suddenly unemployed and not kept on by the government. Surely the succession planning that's now required for these craftsmen and Skills Zone 5 that we're going to see a massive change in, should there not be a process in there to encourage apprenticeships? But one of the big encouragements would be this possibility of employment at the end of it, because we know skills are not, these type of skills are not going to diminish, they're going to probably increase in government.
Yes, to reply.
Thank you very much. 2 points there, I think, Mr. Speaker. The first one regarding advertising, I'm more than happy to follow that one up and see. The honourable member's got me on the back foot with that one. I've not had a look at the advertising myself, but she says she can't find anything. But I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but I'll make sure on that. With regards to employment, after doing a 3-year course, apprenticeship, hopefully that's what we're looking at doing here and taking these people on, because we have an ongoing situation looking after the government's estate and all sorts of things, and we will need those people. Obviously, again, you can take people from the private sector to do that job, but if you need them in a crisis, it's good to have your own team out there to do that. And that's the idea of this, that we have apprentices that will then fill those jobs, as the honourable member from Ramsey pointed out, of the age of those people working for us. They will be leaving us sometime in the next few years, and we need to backfill that.
Mr. Thomas.
Thank you very much. Given the good news today about the future opportunities to ensure effective succession and continuity across public services, particularly for crafts and manual people, can the Minister undertake to make sure that the Minister of Education hasn't got any plans to close the Hills Meadow Advanced Manufacturing Skills Centre down, because it is widely rumoured that that's under threat?
Happy to have those conversations with the Minister for Education, but I've not heard those rumours at all, Mr. Speaker.
Mr Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Is the Minister able to give us a little bit more indication what's happening with the current apprentices? I think you referred to 10. I think the apprenticeships are 3 years in length. How far through the apprenticeships are these 10 individuals? Are they getting towards the end of it? Are they year 2? Are they new starters? That would perhaps give us an indication where we are in terms of supporting these people. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Minister to reply.
I'll see if I can get that information, Mr Speaker, and circulate to the Honourable Member.
Mr Hooper.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. We've talked a bit about apprentices this morning. I want to talk about the other end of the chain as well. So the question asked around succession planning. We know that right now we have a number of departments out seeking chief officers, deputy chief officers, policy leads. We're even seeking a new head of the Isle of Man Civil Service all at the same time. Has the government got any plans in place to make sure that we actually have effective succession planning in place at the top levels of the civil service? Because it does feel like every time we lose a senior officer, the government is then panicking, scrabbling around, trying to beg, borrow and steal senior officers from elsewhere in the government because they don't have enough resilience in their senior leadership teams.
Minister to reply.
Thank you, and that's a great question, Mr Speaker, because I think the Honourable Member's quite right. You know, in the last 2 years, we've taken on 4 senior officers, and within the next couple of months, we'll only have one left for various reasons. And we need to be looking at succession planning right the way across government. And there's nothing nicer, I think, than somebody who spends a lifetime in government, working across all departments, eventually making it to the top. But instead, we seem to bring people across. We need to make sure that they're getting that training while they're in the service, so when those jobs become vacant, that they're in with a good chance of having those jobs.
Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I wonder if the Minister could confirm what are they reviewing in looking at the recruitment process, because he's just said himself that we've basically lost virtually all of the CEOs that came to us. So I think there's possibly an area that needs looked at with the recruitment there. But with regards to skills planning for the future, you can't only do an apprentice in the technical grades, you can also do it in administrative grades. Used to happen in Isle of Man government. You could come in as an AA, we took that away. So it's AO grade now, which is quite a high salary to start with. But perhaps you need to be looking at whether we start our own apprentice scheme within the public sector, and there is qualifications that can be run alongside UCM, but the person is actually working in the workplace to gain the skills.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'd very much like to think that there is in-house training available to people if they want to do it, but I'll find out.
Turn to question 10. Calling the Honourable Member for Arbroath-Castle Mr Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'd like to ask the Minister for Education, Sport and Culture how many apprenticeship places have been offered by UCM to start next term, and for how many of these work placements are in place. Thank you.
Calling the Minister for Education, Sport and Culture to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. UCM currently has 51 applications from individuals who wish to commence a new apprenticeship programme in September 2025. Of these, 31 have been processed and have received conditional offers. Applicants would usually have employment in place at the time they commence their apprenticeship, and this would be ratified by UCM during the enrolment process in the autumn. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and thank you, Minister. In terms of there being a potential issue, is the Minister and the Department aware that there are not, or don't appear to be, as many placements on offer as there have been previously? Is the Minister able to give us an indication of how the number of the places currently available? She makes reference to 51 applications and 31 being processed, but in terms of those, how many have actually got placements in place, and how that compares with the start of this academic year and autumn 2019, please? Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm not aware of that situation that the Honourable Member raises. I understand there's always been a degree of challenge in young people finding apprenticeship opportunities, just like there is finding a job. It's challenging, however, there is support available, and similarly, support may be available from advisors at the Job Centre in terms of preparing CVs, applications, interviews, advice and guidance. Comparative data is not recorded at this point in previous years. So this is early in the year for apprenticeship applications, which continue through the summer months as students gain greater certainty about their employment gateway. And many apprentices do not apply until they have agreement from their employer that they will be supported. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister said there's 51 applicants. There's only 31 offers gone out. Can the Minister confirm how many places are available, and can she state that nobody who's got a job offer to be able to do their apprenticeship will be turned away, and which disciplines?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That is my understanding, that the places are for the number of people who come forward. To give some kind of context, while the 51 have so far applied, the current year's intake from September was at 284, and coincidentally that's exactly the same figure as we had in the 2021 intake. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Local businesses traditionally received a payment to have the apprenticeship. How much was that payment? And is there any possibility that it could be reinstated? And if so, how quickly could that happen if the numbers aren't actually as high in terms of placements available at the start of term as are required? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The incentive payments, I think the Honourable Member is referring to, that's the payments to companies to cover the cost of the absence from work of the apprentice to undertake the training. That still exists under the apprenticeship scheme alongside payments for training, so long as the companies meet the eligibility criteria. They'll be entitled to receive increased payments of, for a first year apprentice, it's £60 per week, a second year apprentice, £45 per week, third year apprentice, £30 per week, and the fourth year is that discretionary payment, also £30 per week. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Clearly those payments do need looking at, because the more experience an apprentice gets, the more valuable they are to a company. Anyway, the Minister said that there was 284 apprenticeships in 2021, but she didn't state what the capacity is. Is there a maximum capacity that each discipline can take? And can she provide a breakdown of which areas and how many numbers in each? I know she probably won't have this information. And also, can she confirm in that, is engineering discipline reducing quite drastically inside for the number of people going on apprenticeships?
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't have the exact information. I can say there are I've got a list of 28 different apprenticeships that are currently on offer, and I think it would be a vast amount of work to bring out all the information for how many exactly are on each one and what the capacity is on each one. They range from business administration and digital technologies to a raft of construction apprenticeships, such as brickwork, carpentry and joinery, electrical, everything including early years training, built environment, digital technologies. So there are vast amounts of apprenticeship opportunities, and I'm not aware that there is any capacity issues that would prevent people getting a placement should they have the employment and meet the criteria. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'm conscious there's another supplementary down for this question, but time has kind of run away from us this morning. We have two further questions on the question paper. Mr. Hooper?
Just beg that we finish.
Happy to second.
Thank you very much. Put the question that we complete the questions at this point. Those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against no? The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Mr. Morehouse, you have the next supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Could the Minister give us a bit more clarity, please, in terms of the numbers? She's referred to 28 apprenticeships being on offer. She's referred to previous years when there's been 284 people in apprenticeships. But then we get the data of 51 applications for this year and 31 being processed. So in terms of going forward into next year, the numbers seem dramatically lower than previous. Have I misinterpreted the facts? Minister, could you have the clarity I require, please? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Happy to provide clarity. As I said, the comparative data for the applications for apprenticeships is not available because in previous years that hasn't been gathered at this point. The majority of the applications come in over the summer when apprentices confirm their work placement and also apply to go on the courses. The figures have ranged, as I said. In September, we have 284 currently live apprenticeships, and that is the same that was in 2021 intake at 284. In 2022, it increased to 316, and the previous year, 2023, was 303. So they're all in that area, and I'm not aware of any reason why they would dip this year. As I said, I wouldn't go on the figure that's the applications now, because we just haven't captured that previously. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question 11, calling the Honourable Member for Arbroath Castle, Mr Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to ask the Chair of the Housing and Communities Board how many bed nights were provided for homeless people between the 6th of January 2025 and 16th of April 2025, and how much did this cost? Thank you.
Calling the Chair of the Housing and Communities Board to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the calendar months January, February and March, 2,955 bed nights were provided to people presenting to Manx Care as homeless. This had a total cost of £187,990. The demand for this service has been higher than anticipated, which in my view shows a need that was not necessarily visible until now. Mr. Speaker, the House will appreciate that there is a difficult balance to be struck between making sure resources targeted at those most in need and ensuring we have no one sleeping rough on the island, especially in the colder months. We have improvements to make to the service, but we are assisting those in need.
Mr Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Chair, for that data set. In terms of the data set, it includes the number of bed nights, but it doesn't include the number of individuals. Is the Chair able to give us the number of individuals who have been assisted during this period, and in terms of those individuals, are they all still requiring help, or has some support being given to them in terms of moving forward? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Reply.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In relation to the first part of the question, I don't have that to hand. I have asked for it, and as soon as I do have that figure, I will have it circulated to honourable members. In terms of the second part of his question, I can answer, which is, while there are certain people where there is what we would say repeat occurrences, and people coming back through the system, there is also churn. So there is people who are requiring assistance, being supported, and then that assistance is coming to an end.
Mr Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Chairman. In terms of these individuals, many of them have been staying in bed and breakfast and hotels and similar accommodation. With a TT coming up, is the Chair able to give us an indication of how many of these individuals are having to be placed in alternative accommodation and how that is being found, please?
Chair to reply.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. That work has been ongoing for the last month or so. The direction from the Housing Communities Board has been clear, and that alternative accommodation needs to be found and supported for these individuals. I believe that is currently being done. One of the issues, of course, we have is we don't know what the demand will be over that period until we reach it, but alternative accommodation is being sourced because we know from last year's experience that as we come up to TT, quite rightly, the hoteliers and the bed and breakfast establishments want the rooms back for their customers over that period.
Collister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Minister for the information. Can I just ask the Minister if you can just confirm the number of bed nights again? I didn't quite hear that in the original answer. Could I just ask the Minister also, the Chair for the Housing Body, is he confident that we're actually reaching out and we are actually capturing the right number of people? Or is he still concerned that there is a lot of people, say for example sofa surfers, that may not be actually captured in this and we're not really got to the core of this issue yet?
Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In terms of the bed nights, I'll confirm again it's 2,955. That's covering January, February and March of this calendar year. In relation to capturing the problem, I think actually what we've seen with the rise in demand for this service actually shows that there is a widespread knowledge now of the service. I think there are individuals out there who we probably aren't capturing, but that I think is mainly because there's people who, for whatever reasons, don't feel they want to come forward. I've spoken, for instance, personally to someone, advised them of the service, that I think the service would be of use to, but they don't want to actually come forward and admit that they're actually sofa surfing, or in this particular case, someone who's actually living in a camper van, they wish to continue as they are, and that's their personal choice to do so. But I do believe that the service has been successful. In fact, if anything, too successful in some ways in managing to draw out those issues, and it's been providing a very valuable service, putting roofs over people's heads.
Mr. Glover.
Durham Idle Order, in the original answer, you mentioned that improvements were needed. Could he just give an illustration of those improvements? Because certainly inquiries to me have definitely taken an uptick in terms of homelessness.
Chairman?
Yeah, so there is several improvements, Mr. Speaker, that I can lay out to the Honourable Member. So the first is around the engagement with individuals. So one of the things we're looking at is to look to develop a more sustainable emergency accommodation service. So we're not necessarily reliant on the hotels and B&Bs, because we recognise that particularly at certain times of years, such as Christmas, TT, it's not really viable. So it's around working to actually try to actually develop that more sustainable model. The Homelessness Strategy Action Plan contained a commitment to fund a team of social workers in Manx Care to run the service and provide wraparound support to people in need, and that action has now been completed, and the team's been in place since the start of April, because one of the things we also recognise, Mr. Speaker, is that it's not just necessarily a homelessness issue. A lot of these individuals come with other needs and requirements as well, and it's about identifying the entire package and the underlying reasons that they may be homeless in the first place. So those are the bits of progress that have been made so far, Mr. Speaker.
Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Quick calculation, the cost of this is £63 a night per individual person, and I'm just wondering if the Minister can confirm. I've recently had a written answer from Manx Care that says the homeless pathway in 24-25 cost £570,000, 650, and the funding was from the Housing and Communities Board funding. What was that for? And was that paying for this, or was that for something else?
To reply.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I stand to be corrected, but I think the answer that the Honourable Member was given was in relation to the whole homelessness survey. The accommodation aspect of it, which the full year 24-25 was £477,027 and 23 pence, if she wants to be absolutely exact on it. In terms of the average number of the average price, she is correct. The average cost per bed night works out at about £63.62. So it has been much more demand than we were expecting, and that's one of the things that we are looking at going forward as well, is to what are the underlying causes driving that demand and what can we do to mitigate it.
Mr. Thomas.
Thank you very much. My question is more about the cost, and I think the Minister's begun to answer it. So can the Minister confirm that the Housing Communities Board has been paying half of its annual addition to its fund on this homelessness provision, and how long can it continue to do that? Because I am minded that the Housing Communities Board fund terms of reference talk about not funding continuing activities. That's my first question. And the second question is, am I right in thinking that at the moment the Housing and Communities Board goes to Treasury to approve the expenditure as per the financial regulations? That money might then go to DHSC, who then pay it on to Manx Care, who then pay it on to Bed and Breakfast. So it sounds like a lot of administration and all of this, especially when you add to that the social workers who are now engaged to do this apparently full time from what's just been said.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So it works on a reclaim principle, so I can assure the Honourable Member it's not quite as he laid out at the end, where you go through all these multiple things for the bed and breakfasts to get paid. It's actually sort of the reverse of the process, if anything, where the payment is made and then reclaimed back. In terms of the terms of reference, the Honourable Member is quite correct, and from my personal point of view, it's not sustainable in the long term to be continuing with the way things are in terms of the cost of this service, which is one of the reasons we are looking at the service, the underlying issues, and if there's anything we can do to mitigate. The terms of reference as well for the Housing Communities Board and the fund, there is also monies that will come in from Cabinet Office if Cabinet Office is underspent, because if Cabinet Office is underspent and there isn't a claim on the fund, that underspend has to be utilised first. So it's not as simple as it just coming direct from the Housing Communities Fund. But in terms of what the Honourable Member asked and the sustainability around it, that is a piece of work that's currently ongoing now, because we have seen far more demand than we were actually anticipating, which in one way is looked at in a good way, is that people have recognised the services there and people are using it, but looked at from another way, we need to look at what those underlying reasons for that drive and demand are.
Mr Morehouse.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'm rather concerned that September 2022, when Gray closed its shelter, we looked at something quite significant in terms of the opportunities that we could provide. We then narrowed it down and it became a more holistic approach where we're actually supporting those people as and when. We've now gone back to what the Chair referred to as the need for sustainable accommodation. How quickly can we get there? Because we've only just over 12 months to the next election. Last year, the existing service cost over £500,000. This year, it's going to be over £750,000. And next year, at this rate, it's going to be over £1 million. How quickly can we actually get something worthwhile for our money that's going to really benefit these people? Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Well, the first thing to say is I'm not worried about when the election is. For me, it's more about ensuring that these individuals have sustainable support in the long term. The Honourable Member actually mentioned there, Mr Speaker, about it becoming a bit more, he didn't use the word haphazard, but that's the way I interpreted it. If anything, it's actually become more regimented, because as I said in one of my previous answers, we've put the additional support into Manx Care to ensure that the wider holistic needs of those individuals can be looked at, because it's not normally, although it is in some cases, a case of someone suddenly becomes homeless, there's additional needs under there that need to be addressed. Or the Honourable Member is quite right, it will keep recurring, and so that support isn't already in place to actually, for instance, whether drug and alcohol problems, try and get people the support that they need, people who may not be able to manage to do very well living alone, to actually get them support there as well, or who for whatever reason have had family breakdowns and just need a bit of support to be able to get over the situation that they find themselves in. So it's a much more holistic approach, and I would actually say to the Honourable Member, with the team that's now in place from the start of this month, we will actually be seeing that kicking in this year.
Mr Forster.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the Chair for the information this morning. I'm also concerned about the potential loss of bed nights as we move towards TT in the summer period. What we need is bricks and mortar, we need investment. But can I ask the Chair if the committee is actually collecting data? Because this isn't just about unemployed or unskilled individuals with some social needs. There will be some in that. Some of these people are actually in very well-paid jobs, but face a cliff edge such as a relationship and loss of jobs or something else. Can I ask the Chair if he will actually publish any data they hold in order to give us a better understanding? And I know this does partly come under the Cabinet Office, and I'm a member of the Cabinet Office, but I do have a declared interest in this. I've always been interested in homelessness ever since I came into this chamber. So would the Minister stroke Chair give reassurance to publish any data he has in order for all of us to be able to work out and to find a solution for this problem?
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. I've said many times in this place and another place, I'm fully in favour of open data, so I'm more than happy to go away and see what data we've got and we can actually publish in relation to this. In terms of homelessness, he's quite correct, Mr Speaker. Homelessness can strike at any time to anyone. It's not people from a particular background that actually can find themselves in this situation. The important thing from my point of view is actually identifying the underlying causes that are causing this and ensuring that the people get the bespoke help that they actually need. And the key word there is bespoke help, Mr Speaker, ensuring that people are directed to the right services to help them, because we have to accept this is again a case where one size doesn't fit all. Not everyone will need the same level of support or the same type of support, and one of the key things that the Housing Communities Board has been driving forward with is actually pushing on that, which is why I put the support into Manx Care. And the other thing I wholeheartedly agree with him on is bricks and mortar. As I said in one of my original replies, we need to be ensuring that we are driving for getting bespoke accommodation built. There are vacant properties around the government estate that I believe we could be utilising, and the Housing Communities Board believes we could be utilising to drive this service forward, and those conversations are ongoing.
Mr Glover.
Guru Maid Lord, And the Minister and Chair, sorry, has used underlying issues, and I'd just like to ask him what work has been already taking place to identify what those underlying issues are, because certainly some of the examples have been given don't fit with what I've been dealing with of late. The people I've been dealing with of late, it's because the squeeze economically currently on the lower and middle income earners on this island.
Chairman's reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There is a variety of reasons, and each case, as I said just before, can be quite bespoke. One of the reasons the pathway goes to adult social care is so that can be assessed. So we do have cases where people have found themselves in financial difficulty, where people have found themselves evicted from properties for whatever reason. We also have cases, as I've already alluded to, of people with particular needs around drug and alcohol issues. We have relationship breakdowns, which comes through as a theme as well. We have people that for whatever reason have been excluded from properties that suddenly find themselves homeless. And then we have people who fall into a bit of a wider category that we mentioned earlier of sofa surfing, which encompasses quite a lot, that phrase, of people who've been sofa surfing for many years and have never come forward and sought support because they haven't felt there's any support out there for them. So it is a multitude of reasons. The Honourable Member is quite correct, and I think that is one of the issues with this sort of topic when you talk about it. If you did manage to collate every single case, I don't think you're going to find necessarily 3 or 4 things that if you fix those 3 or 4 things, that will solve the problem, because it is a disparate amount of different issues that are very bespoke to some of the individuals that are coming forward.
Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm just a little bit concerned at some of the comments from the Minister with regards to once a person's classified as homeless or houseless as a short-term holiday B&B type accommodation is on our own specification that's been adapted version of the ethos, the European typology on homelessness and housing exclusion. I'm just a little bit concerned that there might be access in other services much quicker than people that have been waiting a considerable time, because that's what was coming across today. But what I would like, if the Minister can circulate it, is a copy of the latest needs assessment form that's completed to be able to be classified as homeless, and is there any residency criteria attached to that? Can he confirm that, please?
Chairman's reply.
Yeah, in terms of residency criteria, Mr. Speaker, I can confirm that they have to be classified as an Isle of Man resident. So it's not open. So with all the other relevant, so to be classified as an Isle of Man resident, I think it's 5 years, if I remember correctly. So you can't just, for instance, turn up off the boat, dial into the homelessness pathway and say, I'm homeless, put me up. That doesn't actually apply to it. So I think that's the reassurance the Honourable Member's looking for. In relation to the other parts of the Honourable Member's question, the criteria and the route through the adult social care is currently being assessed and looked at. Once that is finished, I will circulate it to all Honourable Members in terms of the pathway. And in terms of her other comments, I don't want it to go out from this place that by people going into the homelessness pathway, they are suddenly going to access other services quicker. That is certainly not what I have said. They will be referred into the services, but it doesn't mean they will then be obviously triaged the same as anyone else entering that service. They are not going to get automatic priority. This isn't a way for people to try and get priority in other services.
Mr Thomas.
Thank you very much. I do, policy seems to have changed quite a lot in the last 2 or 3 years from a council minister's treasury perspective, at least, given what's being funded now. Simple question then, can the chair stroke Minister of Cabinet Office, that's my second question in a minute, confirm whether we've adopted a housing first policy or we have not? Because if we have adopted a housing first policy, the other issues go ahead of things like residency and means, because we haven't got to means. Or as the Minister saying that we haven't adopted housing first, all the criteria that apply to access to housing authority houses are the same as applies to homelessness policy. So have we or have we not adopted a housing first approach? And secondly, I was surprised to learn that Cabinet Office got the data about homelessness, which suggests they're somehow responsible, because it was Department of Health and Social Care that proposed homelessness approach. It wasn't Cabinet Office to the Housing and Communities Board, and I thought Manx Care was first amongst equals in this, so I would have thought it was DHSC that was getting the data, not Cabinet Office, and I think we need some clarification of that. Will the budget from Housing and Communities Board transfer to Cabinet Office or to DHSC when the financial regulations are complied with about funding things permanently from a fund?
Chairman to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Let's be absolutely clear. I'm answering this question with the hat on as Chair of the Housing Communities Board, not as Minister for the Cabinet Office. The Honourable Member is absolutely correct that DHSC, referred to as the first among equals, is indeed. When I've said, in answer to previous questions about data sets, and I said I will go away and I'm personally in favour of open data, that data obviously is held by Manx Care. And in fact, the answers that I have given this morning, the data provided in terms of all of that is actually provided by Manx Care to myself as Chair of the Housing Communities Board. So we need to make a very clear distinction between the two hats that I wear, Mr. Speaker, in relation to this. In terms of Housing First, though, the one thing I would say is a Housing First policy can mean a multitude of things, because depending upon what jurisdiction you look at, there's a multitude of things that actually fall behind that. What I would say is the policy that we have is to ensure that people who are homeless and have nowhere to go have a safe space to go, and then we look to deal with any underlying issues that those individuals may have.
Question 12. I call on the Honourable Member for Douglas Central, Mr Thomas.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I'd like to ask the Minister for Infrastructure when she will answer written question W2025011535, when the Legislative Council principal stage of the Local Government Amendment Bill 2023 will be moved, and if you will make a statement.
Call the Minister for Infrastructure to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for his question. The answer to the written question was published on Friday the 2nd of May 2025. I apologise for the delay in uploading the answer to the question, which was due to limited internal resources within the department. Both the letter that he referred to in that question and the responses will be published in the next few days. As the responses from the local authorities are still being collated and considered, it would be premature to finalise a date for the bill to move to Legislative Council. Once we've considered the responses in detail, a decision will be made as to when the Local Government Amendment Bill will be taken forward.
Mr Thomas.
No, and I thank the Minister for that upload on Friday, and I also understand that when there are staffing issues, these issues are going to take time, but I am hoping the other 8 unanswered written questions that the Department of Infrastructure has for me will be answered in the next few days, so that I don't have to put down an oral question for each one of those 8 questions. But I appreciate the officers and the politicians having uploaded that question now. In the written answer, which quote, quoting the letter from 5th of March, which is not yet published, but apparently will be published in the next few days, although lots of local authorities received it, the Minister says, we do not intend to remove or amend new Clause 1, but the Department is minded to bring forward new Clause 2 as a government amendment at the Legislative Council. Does that mean then that Council of Ministers has changed its mind in respect of new Clause 2, and that it's now Council of Ministers' policy to actually go ahead with new Clause 2, as long as local authorities are not universally against it in the consultation that's been taken forward?
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Council of Ministers agreed to test the water with new Clause 2, which is what the letter actually did.
Mr Thomas.
Thank you very much. So when just before we had the clauses stage, basically the local authorities were written to by the local government unit of the Department of Infrastructure to highlight that the bill was going into the clauses stage the following Tuesday, and basically they said that there were only relatively minor amendments included within the order paper. Was the local government unit and the Department of Infrastructure unaware of Mr Hooper's amendments when it wrote that, or did it describe Mr Hooper's amendments, which were defeated in large part in the House of Keys, as being minor amendments, given what's happened since? Does it still take the same view as it did then?
Mr to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Hooper's amendments were drafted when he was a backbench member and wasn't a member of the department.
Mr Thomas.
Thank you very much. Falsehood and fabrication are difficult words for this place and for upstairs, but in good faith, back in March 2024, I tried to move the clauses stage of this bill to finally deliver it because it's been kicking around since March 2021. But I was told as soon as practicable the bill would be ahead, which I said, does that mean April? And I didn't get an answer against it. How come the bill wasn't moved between April 2024 and end of January 2025 at clauses stage? Was that to give time for Mr Hooper to draft his amendments? And if so, why weren't the other ministers, who are no longer ministers, also given a chance to draft their amendments? And people like Onken had some very valuable suggestions to make at this stage about local authority member conduct. Why weren't they given a chance to include their amendments in this bill?
Minister to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. The honourable member is suggesting that there was something nefarious going on and that we were giving time to draft amendments. That is not my understanding of the situation. The situation was that, given the limited internal resources within the department, there was not enough resource to move forward with the bill any sooner than we've done so.
Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I just wonder, would the Minister publish the conflicts register for any discussions around this piece of legislation? Because she keeps saying that Mr Hooper was a backbencher, but I want to ensure that there's conflicts have been declared or there's been a stepping away from developing this piece of legislation, because we're supposed to be developing legislation with an unbiased approach.
Minister to reply.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The legislation was developed before Mr Hooper was a member of the department.
Ms Edge.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Could the Minister confirm that she will circulate the conflicts of interest register for the department with regards to this piece of legislation?
Minister to reply.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. In so much as I will look to see if there are any records of it, but this legislation was developed and discussed before Mr Hooper was a member of the department.
That concludes questions for oral answer. Turn to item 2 on our order paper, bill for third reading, and I call on Dr Allinson to move third reading of the Global Minimum Tax Pillar 2 Order 2024 Confirmation Bill 2025.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. This bill confirms one temporary taxation order. The main purpose of the bill is to provide that the Global Minimum Tax Pillar 2 Order 2024 can continue to have effect. Although it is Treasury's intention to bring forward a Global Minimum Tax Pillar 2 bill later this year, it's imperative that the interim period of such a bill being progressed through the branches and receiving royal assent, that the current legislation which introduced Pillar 2, an international standard on this island, does not lapse. This bill ensures that this is the case by confirming the temporary taxation order, the Global Minimum Tax Pillar 2 Order 2024, approved in the other place on the 21st of November 2024. Mr Speaker, I beg to move the third reading.
Mr Smith.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I beg to second.
Put the question then that the Global Minimum Tax Pillar 2 Order 2024 Confirmation Bill 2025 be read for a third time. Those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against, no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Now, honourable members, I'm conscious that there was a presentation scheduled by the Department for Enterprise today that's been cancelled. The Tynwald Standards Members' Interest Workshop will go ahead as planned at the time planned, so that members of the Legislative Council aren't disenfranchised by any change in timing. However, I'm sure that members of the committee will be around to answer any questions you may have if you wish to approach that in advance. With that, concludes the business on the order paper for today, and we will stand adjourned until our next sitting, which is on Tuesday the 13th of May in our own chamber. Thank you all.